Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the 4th round in my Classic Cars Sprint Championship on F1 2017. And if you look at the championship standings, we've got a 2010 Red Bull, a 2004 Ferrari, and a 2008 McLaren joint lead in the championship. You've got 4 drivers on 6 points, 4 drivers on 4 points. It is a remarkably close championship, which is surprising because we've done half of it. Halfway into the championship, and there is still very little to choose between everyone. And of course, because all 3 of the leaders are on 10 points, that means that still every single driver is within a race win's worth of points of each other. And this is pre the ones to watch section here, so we're looking at the 2006 Renault with my custom setup on, I believe 3 wings I'm running for this event, and it's maxing out at 194 miles an hour. So that's the V8 powered Renault, the first of the modern V8 powered Formula 1 cars. And now here we've got a V8 powered Red Bull. It's also using the Renault engine, so effectively the same base engine as was used on the Renault, but obviously developed substantially since then. And well, it's quite aware of the rev limiter, but I think it's going to run out of circuit before it hits that. So 203 miles an hour, so an extra 9 miles an hour in top speed there from the Red Bull. And now we're going to look at the 2004 V10 powered Ferrari. And just to give you an idea of the difference in top speed, we saw it at Silverstone. Silverstone, a very high speed circuit, Ferrari dominated, but Monza, this is the high powered circuit, and it's maxing out at 220 miles an hour. It reached 220 miles an hour way before the end of the straight. So not only is its top speed much higher, but its acceleration to that top speed is second to none. It really is. And in fact, the F2004, it's got the same top speed as the F2002, which I'm driving. It also maxes out at 220 miles an hour, so I've got that to look forward to. And I've put in the ones to watch, the Renault R26, because really it comes down to a question of, in what is only a 5-lap race, sure around Monza, but in only 5 laps, what is more important? Track position or outright top speed? Because if it's track position, then the Renaults, they're right up there. As we can see, we could just see a bit of Renault there, a bit of yellow and blue. The Renaults, because they've scored so few points, in fact 2 of them haven't scored any points at all, they'll be starting towards the front of the grid. But then you've got many of the V10 powered Ferraris starting towards the back. They're going to be starting much further back, obviously, so they'll have to make their way through a lot of traffic. But they've got a much higher top speed, so the Renaults will be sitting ducks, but they're going to be starting significantly ahead. In fact, the first V10 powered car is starting in 10th place. So, even Benjamin Copland's starting in 10th, even he will have to clear a lot of traffic before he can even challenge the Renaults at the front. I'm starting in 14th place, my teammate in 12th. In fact, you've got one of them starting in 19th place, the person who won the Grand Prix around Silverstone. So yeah, it really is a question of what is more important, track position or outright top speed and horsepower. Well, we're going to find out as this 5-lap sprint championship race around Monza is underway, and there's a lot of tyre smoke coming from the Ferrari on the left hand side, and already I had to back off the throttle there. Seconds into the Grand Prix, and I've already experienced traffic problems, but able to get past them very easily, and I'm up into 11th place. Heading into the Ratafilio chicane, and everyone's going so slowly around here just to avoid making contact. Ferrari off to the left hand side, but able to out-accelerate him out to the corner, so that was easy. That Red Bull just effectively moved out of the way, admitted defeat. Unlike this Renault up ahead, who is causing massive traffic problems, there's myself, 2 other V10 powered Ferraris, and in fact an F2007 up ahead who is caught up behind. In fact, one of them's cleared the Renault, but the other one I thought had, but hasn't. So actually, this Renault is causing significant traffic problems. And, I mean, I think already he's outside of a points position, so that Renault got off to a poor start, doing very well at holding up a train of cars here. But in fact, well, I say a train, look, that Renault is already miles behind the next car up the road, and yep, he's now outside of the points positions. It's only points for the top 6 in the Grand Prix, and, well, that Renault is down into 8th. I'm sure it'll be 9th, 10th. I'm sure eventually, quite quickly, he'll slip down towards the bottom end of the field. So I'm in 7th place. We've got a V10 powered Ferrari up ahead. I believe it's an F2004. In fact, I think I am the highest placed F2002 currently in the Grand Prix. We've got Lucas Roth setting the fastest lap. I believe he's a Red Bull driver as well, which is a surprise to see him set the fastest lap, although it is only lap 1. We've got a McLaren up here, trying to go to the inside, but fair enough, he did defend the position there, moved over, so fair play, he's defended the position quite well, but acceleration out of the Rettifilo chicane, initially he's got it, but then the power overtakes the traction, and there you go. So I'm up into 6th place, make that 5th as I get past the Red Bull, make that 4th as I get past the Renault. Well, that was quick. I mean, I've done not even 1.5 laps, and I've moved up from 14th to 4th. So I'm not quite sure what cars are up ahead. I mean, that was a frantic start. We're going to take a look at some replays of the start. So we've got the Red Bull that started in 5th. A very good start. In fact, actually, he's got the run on the Renault, and I believe he is just going to go slightly later on the brakes because this Red Bull is obviously, it hasn't got groove tyres and also much more downforce compared to that Renault, and yeah, it's academic. And look, already he's opened up a significant gap on the 2006 Renault. But then again, as we saw, given the same setup, this Red Bull is 9-10 miles an hour quicker than the Renault in a straight line. And we've got the highest placed V10 powered Ferrari in the Grand Prix, starting in 10th, is now up into 8th position, and yeah, he experienced massive traffic problems because he had, well, pretty much every single V8 powered car up ahead of him there. So, well, very wide around the Rettifilo chicane, down back into 8th place, and, well, in fact, there's another Ferrari up ahead. I think that's another F2004, who's tried to hold it around the outside. This was the Renault train which I experienced. This was the one that cleared the train first. So that means he is still the highest placed V10 powered Ferrari, having got past that Renault. So here's the Renault that started in 1st place. And again, a very bad start. This carries on the weird trend that we've seen recently. Well, in pretty much all the Grand Prix, those who start towards the front have generally very bad starts. And we saw it with that Red Bull. There was another Red Bull that started ahead of the one that's currently leading. But the one that was in front initially got off to a very bad start. And in fact, yeah, this is the Renault which was in 5th place, who did a phenomenal job at keeping these cars behind, even if it was just for a few seconds. But, I mean, there's, a 26 mile an hour difference between the Renault and the two V10 powered Ferraris. And initially, traction out of the chicane, he did quite well. The thing is, though, is this Renault, sure, it doesn't have the straight line speed, but that Renault is an exceptionally quick car. Around the corners, honestly, as I said at the start of this series, if we have a wet race, this Renault will shine because it is just such an easy car to drive, and it's got so much grip, limitless grip. Now here is the guy who I feel most sorry for, the joint championship leader, Sophie Levasseur, who won the British Grand Prix down in 19th place. She started down in 19th place and is still down there because, well, I mean, I thought I had traffic problems starting in 14th place, but, well, if you're starting on the back row of the grid, you could have the quickest car in the world, but if there's people going 3 wide ahead of you, there's very little he can do. He's going side by side with another of the race winners so far this season, the one who won the previous Grand Prix. No, sorry, the Spanish Grand Prix, which was the second one. And so there you go. So that F2004, he's now leading the cars that have already won a race this season, which isn't really much of an achievement. He's down in is down in 18th place and is nowhere near scoring a point as it stands. So here's a look at the replay of the race start, the final one. This is from my perspective. So I mean, just look at this. This is a Ferrari fan's wet dream. Just with all of these Ferraris. Okay, sure, they're not at the front at the moment, but here you go. Look at this. This is such a beautiful shot. You've got the Renault keeping back a sea of red cars there, and a couple of them seep through. Well, one of them does. The second one does temporarily, but then the Renault drive out of the chicane. As I said, this Renault is such an underrated car. But unfortunately, just in top speed terms, it just doesn't have the legs compared to any car on the circuit, which is why this Renault is about to lose a position to the Red Bull. So well, I mean, okay, so that Red Bull has taken second place currently, which is now down to third because a Ferrari's gone past. In fact, that is the F2004 who's been, well, leading the rest of the V10 powered cars. And then the rest are just going to seep through. There's another F2004 who's breezed past the Red Bull and the Renault. In fact, the Renault re-overtook the Red Bull down the start-finish straight. So I'm not quite sure what setups those two Renault-powered cars are running. But certainly the Renault surprisingly quick in a straight line to re-pass the Red Bull. But unfortunately, nowhere near quick enough. You'd have to take off the wings for that Renault to be even close to the Ferraris down the straights. And in fact, that Ferrari that had just gotten by there was myself. So that's that Renault down into 5th place. Now down to 6th as the 2008 McLaren, he's got a V8 powered Mercedes engine. So he's got the legs on that Renault just about got enough of an overspeed. But unfortunately we saw that Ferrari breeze past off in the distance. It's just a speck in the distance. I mean, this race really does, you really do appreciate the difference between the V10 and the V8 era, because I mean the V8 cars overall are fairly quick, but around a circuit like this, which is so power dominated, the V10s are just in a league of their own, quite literally. I mean, I'm now battling for 3rd place with another with another V10 powered car. That's an F2004, I'm in the F2002, the inferior car, although in top speed, I think the F2002 has got the slight edge. Honestly, it's less than a whole mile an hour, it's less than a whole kilometre an hour, so I'm not quite sure, but I think the F2002 is about 0.2 miles an hour quicker in top speed in this game, given the same setup, given my custom setup anyway. So here we got the battle for the lead. When I say battle, I mean it's not really much of a battle, is it? We had that Red Bull which was doing valiantly well to hold the lead of the Grand Prix, but, well, I mean, it just wasn't going to hold it for the rest of the Grand Prix, was it? As that Ferrari has now gotten past and is leading the Grand Prix. That is Benjamin Coppens, who was the leading V10 powered Ferrari. He was the highest placed V10 runner at the start and always has been. He just hasn't actually lost any ground to any of the other V10 powered cars. And I think, well, this will kind of give you an understanding as to why. So there's the Red Bull off in 2nd. There's 3rd, 4th and 5th. I'm in the F2002 and I've got an F2004 just ahead and just behind me. But around this circuit, the lap time difference between the F2002 and F2004 is minimal. And as I said, in a straight line, I think the 2002 is slightly quicker. Which explains the fact that, well, I say slightly, but it explains the fact that I cannot overtake the car ahead because, well, he's got a downforce advantage. But the guy behind also cannot get by because it's not enough of a raw speed advantage to be able to get past. And down the straights, we're equal. So that guy behind in the F2004, quicker car, cannot get past. And here's the weird thing. This is the guy ahead of me in 3rd place. There's the Red Bull in 2nd. And this is the final lap of the Grand Prix. And that 2010 Red Bull is still in 2nd. Miles behind the leader, Benjamin Coppens, who's going to win the Sprint Championship race around Monza. Unsurprisingly, in F2004 is going to win around Monza. Starting in 10th, that's an average of 2 positions made every lap. But honestly, I mean, well, we're coming back to me. I'm fairly close to the F2004 just up ahead, but we're still significantly behind that 2010 Red Bull. So I'm going to finish in 4th, but amazingly, the star performance surely has to be that Red Bull up ahead who finished in 2nd. And as we can see, if the race went on for another lap, he would have finished well, third, probably fourth, probably even fifth actually. But look at that, the best laps. Lucas Roth in that Red Bull, lap times, surprisingly competitive. If you look at everyone else, you know, behind, the lap times from that Red Bull were so quick. So I have no idea what setup he was running, but he was surprisingly quick. In 5 laps, we couldn't have caught him up. We didn't. 10 laps easily would have done, but not in 5. So there you go. Generally speaking, horsepower was what you needed, but track position for that Red Bull certainly worked out. He got off to a decent start, and then, well, was in clean air, was able to pull out from the very start. And as we can see, we've still got a Red Bull, still got a McLaren, and 2 of the Renaults that haven't scored points. Although the championship leader, who is in fact Benjamin Coppens, because he won today's Grand Prix, and he had already had 4 points prior to this Grand Prix. So because of that, because of the fact that he's actually scored points in multiple Grand Prix, well actually so have I. I've also scored points in multiple Grand Prix in this championship, but I just keep finishing towards the lower end of the points. I'm not getting race wins, which, well, with this point system, 10 points for first place and then only 6 points for second, you know, the point system is really weighted towards winning, which is why I'm towards the top of the championship but not at the top. But then again, I'm on 9 points. The championship leader, Benjamin Coppens, is only on 14 points now. And because he's a championship leader now, he'll be starting towards the back. He'll be starting at the back at the next Grand Prix because of the reverse championship order starting grid. So I'm only 5 points behind, and I've got track position advantage on him, at the very least for the next Grand Prix, which is around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. So another top speed heavy circuit. So in theory, it should be another Ferrari dominance fest around that circuit. But then again, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, there's some slightly more medium to higher speed corners which you would need downforce for. So it's going to be slightly more in the favour of the Red Bulls, Renaults, McLarens. And also, because so many V10 powered Ferraris scored points at this Grand Prix, they're now going to be starting towards the back again. So that's the thing with this championship, that's the thing with the starting grid, because it's always a reverse of the championship positions. The worse you're doing in the championship, the better your future prospects are. So it is anybody's game for the next round around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So I'll see you guys then.